Welcome back to the Kingdom Minded Mompreneur podcast. Hey, Becky.
Hey, I'm excited about this conversation.
Yes. So we are really looking forward to talking about mindset today because Becky and I obviously have been coaches for a while. And so we have a lot of conversations with people. We unpack a lot of things, and inevitably what happens is people will come to us and say, I need help with leadership. I need help with social media strategy. I need help with whatever it is. And as we have conversations with them, what we will find is that there is a deeper roadblock, belief, something that is holding them back, that is not really a leadership problem, but it is a mindset problem. So we're going to talk today about how to grow your mindset.
Yes, I'm so excited about this conversation because you are exactly right. I can remember early in my leadership days when I was, learning how to best coach people, right? Based on different types of personalities or, based on the goals they had for their business. And I would very often, right? If you're a high performer, you can relate to this. I would very often get so frustrated because I would be thinking, I don't understand why you're not doing the thing you want to do. Like I would be like, here is the roadmap, or here is this, action item that is going to lead to the result that you want. And like, they wouldn't do it. And, in the beginning, I would just get so frustrated because I would be thinking, what is the holdup? Like, you're telling me one thing, but you're not doing the action. And I would get so frustrated. Right. And I think those of us that are high performers, very often we're just like, well, they just don't have a clear enough why, or, oh, they're just not motivated enough, or, oh, they're just not whatever. When the reality is, it almost always, like always comes back to mindset, and it's just so interesting. So I'm excited to have this conversation because I think as we, grow and evolve and work on not only ourselves, right? We want to help other people, step into their power, step into what God has for them. But a lot of it is a lack of confidence, a struggle with their mindset, and concern about, this, that, or the other, what other people will say or think or, whatever. And so I think the education, especially for the people who want to be a leader around this topic, is key in your growth in direct sales.
Yes, yes. And, there's a lot that plays into that. I'm thinking even trauma and other things that you've walked through, things in your childhood that might be affecting your beliefs. But either way, you really have to look at if that is holding you back, you have to take action. If it is trauma, if it is things that you need to work through, go to counseling, hire a coach, like do what you need to do. So we're going to give you 3 specific ways today that you can grow your own mindset and really have an unstoppable mindset. Because if your mindset changes to where you really believe that anything is possible, it completely changes your life. It changes how you show up in your business. It changes how you show up in your family. So we're going to give you 3 ways. The first way is to evaluate what you are consuming. So you might be maybe not realizing how important it is to pay attention to what is going into your mind. Okay, if you think about, for example, nutrition. If you know, all right, if I eat this certain thing, it's going to make me tired. It's going to make me cranky, right? Like I'm thinking sugar or whatever, right? If you put something, if you consume something, it's going to make you feel a certain way. If you consume caffeine, it is going to give you energy. If you take a Benadryl, you're going to fall asleep, right? Okay, so in the same way, you have to think about what are you putting into your mind? Because you might think at the end of the day, after being exhausted, you are just watching Netflix show after Netflix show or mindlessly scrolling your social media. But every single thing that goes into your mind, your brain actually has to filter that and it affects you in some kind of way. And so you really have to be mindful of what it is that you are consuming.
Yeah. I mean, I can remember recently watching some kind of show. It was based off of a real life event, like a, murder or whatever. And I was watching this show and I kind of became, very invested in it because I knew the real life outcome, but I think I was just so, whatever, right? Like, how these shows are, they pull you in and all this stuff. And by the end of it though, it was such a heavy, like traumatic like topic that by the end of it I was so tired and like felt this like heavy like darkness around my energy. And looking back, I was like, man, I wish I didn't even watch that, because the
Hmm.
rest of the day I literally did nothing. Like it was a weekend the girls weren't with me. And I just remembered, I kind of was like, hey, I'm gonna watch this while I was like eating lunch. And then I binged it. And the next thing I know, I was like, this was such a waste of the day.
Hmm.
And it's not to like shame people for like binge watching a show or whatever, on like Christmas break when you're like watching a ton of movies or hanging out or whatever. We're not saying that, but I just think for me, recognizing, where I want to go in life and like the experiences I want to have, it does take to a degree a sacrifice of what I put not only into my body like food wise, but also, the things that I'm consuming. And so, I think about really successful people and I'm like, man, they're probably super disciplined. They're probably going to bed. They're not staying up really late watching, whatever, a documentary or whatever the new show is, but they're really disciplined. And the only thing they're listening to are things that help them grow and evolve, and that's for me. I've even caught myself scrolling reels for the next thing I know, right? Like meant to go to bed at like 10 o'clock and then I'm looking on my phone and it's like 12:30 and I'm like, what just happened?
It's
I'm like,
always the dog reels. That's
yes,
me. It
I
is
know.
always the dog reels that get you.
They do. But I just think being really intentional and I'm not saying it's just going to happen overnight, right? Like I'm still catch myself, watching reels way too long, but maybe even setting yourself up for success and like setting an alarm on your phone or, having you can set boundaries on technology nowadays, like even a TV or what, you can have it go to sleep, quote unquote. My dad was even saying that with, my girls. He was like, we need to this summer, he was like, we need to set a timer or something so that it just automatically goes off. And I'm like, that's a great idea, so just set yourself up for success too. I think there's no shame around it. It's just these like technology and social media is designed to keep you there. Like
Right.
Netflix is designed for you to continue watching. It's like it starts playing. You don't have to, pull out the VCR, the video VHS and like put another one in or like rewind it. Like it's designed to just keep going and for you to stay
Yes.
there. And
Yes.
so, yeah, I think
Well,
it's
and
just
I think we also have to teach our children. Like I love that you said that about your
yes.
girls. Like we have to teach our children this is designed to be addictive. It's designed so
Mhm.
that you stay on the platform or that you keep watching the show or whatever. And so we have to practice that self-discipline. But I think as much as the things that we don't need to consume, I think the other thing is the things that you do need to consume. Like if you
Yeah.
want to have a unstoppable mindset, like find people who have achieved what you want to achieve and read their books, listen to their podcasts, consume their content. Because if you are filling up your brain, get in God's word, saturate yourself with God's truth, like get in the word and know scripture so that when you are in moments where you are struggling or you are having trials, I think of the analogy of a sponge that's soaked in water and how if the sponge is completely saturated with water and somebody goes and squeezes the sponge, like what's going to come out is in it, right? Like if I drop that same sponge in a glass of Coke and I squeeze it, like Coke is going to come out of the sponge. And so whatever you are consuming is what is going to come out of you. So I'd love to know, Becky, like what are some of your favorite things to consume?
Ooh, well, I'm always listening to podcasts. So I am a bit of a podcast junkie. Like I have so many incredible like thought leaders and like other industry leaders or other coaches or authors that I am listening to that it would take me forever to tell you all of all of the different people. So that is one thing. And then also, we've mentioned this a couple times, but we're doing the Bible recap. I am a few days behind, so don't judge me. But that has, I think, really helped, to keep me grounded and focused on what's really important and a priority in my life, for me personally, as well as, I know we're going to talk in a minute about number two being evaluate who you surround yourself with. And so I think too, paying attention to the people that you network with. For me, the things I'm consuming a lot of time involve, other people and like hearing their story and their advice and connecting with them. And that's something I've always wanted, made a priority in my life. But I think even more so now, I'm recognizing like where I want to go. And so I'm trying to connect with those people.
Yeah. So let's go right on into that. So
I know,
number
right?
two, all about, so the second one, evaluate who you're around. So I think that's a great point that it can be the people that you surround yourself. It can definitely be like in person, physical surroundings, but I think it can also be, who you are listening to, the people that, you want to become. And then are you putting yourself in positions where you are around people who are 10 steps further than where you are? I know for me, that has been so encouraging because I think we all kind of have a limited view of our perspectives, our worldview, what we've experienced, what we have seen, what our family has shown us. And then when you see someone else who has gone beyond that or who has done something different, it's kind of like I was telling, there's a group of girls that I mentor they're leaving this week to go to college. And so we were talking the other day, and I said to them, I was like, man, I'm so excited for all of you. Because I said, I remember going from, just living at home and having this one worldview and one perspective. And that first semester of college, I just know like all of these different perspectives that I had from professors, that I had from other people that I met different parts of the country. You're meeting all these friends who are from all different parts of the country. And it's like, you've talked before, Becky, about the flashlight. It's like the flashlight gets a little bit bigger. And then I did a semester abroad. Okay. So then your flashlight gets a little bit bigger when you leave the country, right? And so when you are surrounding yourself with other people who have had different experiences, who have different knowledge, who have different wisdom, I think there's a reason why, the Bible talks about gaining wisdom, like people who are older who have gone before you. It says the older women teach the younger women because those women have experience. They have walked through certain things, and there's something about gaining wisdom from other people.
Yeah. Well, not only that, but I also think on the opposite end, paying very close attention to, your circle and the people you are listening to in regards to negativity. And, some of those people, right? It might be a family member or a acquaintance at work or a boss or, another teacher if you're a teacher and you have a teacher friend, or a neighbor, right? I think sometimes that to a degree we can't control, who can physically be around us, right? But I would just challenge you to think about how can you create boundaries that will limit someone's access to you and your emotional well-being and your mental and physical health and all the things. Because I think, I've walked through something where it was really hard and challenging at times to, be around someone like that was, it was a struggle a lot. And so I just want to encourage you to, even if you can't just like cut ties, like we're not sitting here saying like, well, if your mother-in-law is toxic, just, completely sever ties, right? Like we're not saying that, but I think we can most definitely put boundaries in place out of respect and love. And, or even if it's your own kids, if you're a grown adult or you're a grandparent or whatever, and you feel like you need boundaries with your kids and grandkids or, a family member, I just want to encourage you to kind of think about the people that you're spending time with, asking yourself, it's not about what they can do for you. That's not what I'm saying. I think what I mean though is that, how do you feel when you leave that person? Right? How do you feel before getting there? Right? Are you stressed? Are you anxious? Are you depressed or depleted? Is it kind of this person is maybe an energy vampire where you are not inspired and excited to take on the world when you leave them, and instead you're like, I need to go take a nap. So just kind of asking yourself those questions and saying like, it might be someone in your friend circle that maybe you've known your whole life and you feel this amount of guilt. It's like, man, I really felt, I need to stay connected to this person because they've been my best friend all these years. But maybe at the end of the day, that person's really not good for you. Maybe they're
Mhm.
like going out and partying and you're over here thinking, I have a family and I have life goals and I don't really want to do that. That's
Right.
not the life I'm about. And so I think getting really clear on, who it is that you want to become, where you want to go, and thinking, can these people go with me?
I love that. Yeah. And also, if you have goals in your business, are you surrounding yourself with people who are helping you get towards those goals, helping you reach those goals? Or are the people in your life like, oh, you'll never be good at that. You'll never succeed in that. Like, you really have to guard that. If you have goals in your business, you really have to be careful about allowing the words that other people say affect you. And so, if you know that God has called you to something, you really have to dismiss those voices as lies. And the reality is, it can be well meaning people. This could be literally like your mom or your best friend or your spouse. It can be very well meaning people, but they don't necessarily have the vision that you have. They don't see what it is that you are called to and what you are becoming. And so you really have to dismiss. I was actually listening this morning to a podcast by Joyce Meyer, and she was talking about how when she very first stepped into ministry, how she said one of her friends came to her and just said, like, hey, I just want to let you know, like, you don't have the right personality to do this thing. And she said that, she told the person, like, yeah, I don't have the right personality to do this, but God qualified me. Like,
Ooh.
I was not, she was like, I didn't have a seminary degree. I didn't ever get anything on speaking and writing. I mean, she's written like 150 books, but she said God qualified me. And she
Mhm.
made the statement, this is what I was going to say. She made the statement. She said that person could not see who I was becoming, but she said I knew that God could see who I was becoming. And so when it comes to surrounding yourself with people, some people may not see who God is creating you to be. It's kind of like David. Okay, I think we talked about this on a previous episode where, you know, they were anointing the next king, and they came to the house and asked Jesse, like, hey, can you get out your sons? I'm going to anoint the next king. David was out in the field. They didn't even bring him out, right? Because they were like, he's not qualified, right? And so I think, who was it? Samuel was like going person by person, and he was like, none of these are the right person. Like, do you have any other sons? And Jesse was like, oh, we have David, but he's just like in the back, he's a
Yeah.
little boy. He did not see who he was becoming. And so your
Mm.
friends may not see who you're becoming. And if you're like, oh, I just started in my business and I'm only making, $100 a month and I really didn't hit the certain rank or whatever, but you know where you are headed and who you want to be. You can't listen to the voices of people telling you like, oh, you haven't accomplished anything, you haven't achieved anything, you're never going to be anything, because that's not in alignment with God's truth.
Mm. So good. So good. Which brings us to the final, number three. We're walking into it so perfectly, to evaluate who you want to become. And I know we've kind of mentioned this throughout, because I think ultimately, that is going to dictate how we act, what we watch, who we listen to, who we surround ourselves with. And I think it is the most important thing, because ultimately it's like, if we're a reflection of Christ, for example, right? And we say, I want to be like Christ. Well, then you're going to be really evaluating what you're listening to and watching, and you're going to be evaluating who you're surrounding yourself with. And I just think a lot of people, especially when it comes to the whole, overcoming mindset blocks, they are so concerned about what other people are thinking or doing, when the reality is the most important thing they can focus on to get to where they want to go is who they want to become. The version that is required of them to have that success or that life or those experiences or those, that impact, that is on the other side of showing up like that person,
Yes.
learning and evolving as if you're that person.
Yes. And I think that's a great question to continually ask yourself before you do anything. Like, does this action align with who I want to become? And I'll tell you just like a real simple story. So, two of our boys work at Chick-fil-A, and one of them is like always bringing food home for the entire family. He'll like take people's orders before he goes to work. Anyway, so yesterday he was like, Mom, you know what? I'm going to bring you a cookie tonight. And I said, you know what? That's okay. He's like, why not? And I said, well, that's just not in alignment with, I mean, I just don't want a cookie, right? Like, I don't need the extra calories. I don't need the extra sugar. And so it was just like, that was literally my answer. That's just not in alignment with who I want to be. And it's a little thing. Like, that is honestly not a big deal. I mean, it's a cookie, it's not a big deal. But it's the little things that every single day, when you ask yourself, does this little action align with who I want to be? The overall bigger goal of who you want to be happens because of the little actions. It's the little things that you say yes or no to during the day. So, okay, with all of that, we have to share with you. Y'all are going to be like jaw drop. Becky and I have to share with you something really exciting that we have been working on. And by the time that this airs, we would have made our public announcement, but we are opening up the doors to something called the Vault. And inside of the Vault, it's a combination of old courses, new courses, trainings, webinars. And one of the courses that we have created just for you is something called Mindset Makeover. And it gives you the exact blueprint and strategy of how to go from stuck, how to go from believing lies, feeling like you don't know how to overcome things, you want to break free of certain mindset things, maybe you're not following through with who you want to become. And so in this course, okay, there's 3 specific pillars that you're going to learn. The first one is uncovering the lies you believe. The second one is to come into agreement with your true identity. And then the third one is to live out the truth of who you are and who God created you to be. And so this is just one of 33, you guys, 33 courses and trainings that are inside of the Vault. And if you are struggling with mindset, I'm telling you, like, you have got to get a hold of this.
I mean, I'm literally over here like smiling from ear to ear while she is talking about this, because this is a treasure trove of resources and training and courses. And I think at this point, it's well over like 80 something videos, like 33 courses, but there's close. I think I'm not exactly sure, but I want to say it was like maybe close to 90 at this point of videos inside of it. And it's just incredible what you get access to. And literally each video is valued at just a few, it's valued at way more, but you're paying only like a couple of dollars per video. So that's just incredible to get access to this kind of information and training. And, we just see so many people out there who really truly want to grow. They want, to overcome those roadblocks, those emotional, frustrating mindset blocks and, trauma that's maybe happened in their life, but they feel a sense of they're kind of paralyzed because they don't know where to start. They don't know what to do. And I just want to encourage you to start with the Vault, because we wanted people to get access to information without feeling like they have to break the bank to invest in a coach, because chances are the people in this industry, statistically, the people that get to the top and have a ton of success, it's pretty slim. It's a pretty small percentage of people. And I believe in a lot of ways, it's because most people cannot financially afford, whether it's time or money or resources, to invest in the coaching, in the training, in the support that is really needed, right, to have the level of success that you desire. And so because of that, we're launching this, and I I just can't tell you guys how excited I am about it, because it is like every single thing I wish I had. I wish that I had. And then, there's also going to be an opportunity for an upsell where you can get access to 365 social media captions. And so that in itself is also amazing. So we're just really excited for this. We're excited for you. And if you are struggling with your mindset, this resource is exactly what you need.
Thanks so much for listening to the Kingdom Minded Mompreneur. If you loved what you heard today, could you stop and give us a 5-star rating and review? It helps our visibility on podcasting platforms so others like you can hear more of this message.
Also, if this episode encouraged you, we would love for you to pass it along to your own biz bestie and anyone else who could benefit. Bye for now.